Welcome to me, where suspenseful, thrilling, and mysterious stories will draw you into a world where the lines between reality and fantasy seem to blur. When the night falls, when all the sounds gradually quiet down, leaving only your own heartbeat and breathing, that's when these stories begin. Tensions, unsolved mysteries, moments that will make you hold your breath in fear or curiosity, all are waiting for you ahead. Find a comfortable seat, dim the lights, and let this sound guide you on a journey that is not for the faint of heart. I want each of you to leave a comment sharing where you are in the world. And if you are enjoying the episodes, don't forget to give a like and subscribe to the channel now. Relax. Are you ready? If so, join me in the first story right now. Memory of the future. Ed is looking down the cliff, watching the waves crashing on the beach. Same place he was when his baby brother went missing. His parents never spoke of it, like he never had a sibling. It is a summer night. Goes inside for dinner. No one says a word, same as usual. Ed does the dishes. His dad buries himself on the couch in front of the TV, and Mom goes to her room. Another boring evening at the Wallaces. Maybe all the answers to all of our questions are out there in the dark forest. Ed pushes aside a twig from a tree with his left hand to look ahead. It is so dark. He knows he is naked. Why would he? He wonders. It is freezing. Now he is elsewhere, in front of a shed. On the other side, he simply knows there are three beings, which could pass off as triplets, all looking the same, except the one in the middle seems to be a female. They are facing the wall that takes to the woods. Their oval heads are almost a triangle with a pointy chin. The nipples of the both males have a pyramidal shape. The females are round. The three of them appear to be wearing a silvery overall, orange latex gloves up to their elbows, some work boots. Only those aren't brown or black, but in the same silvery tone. Or are they? Their actual feet. They got only 2 toes, the eyes completely white, no pupils or lids, and pointy ears, like they were elves from a fairy tale. They seem to albinos, the skin so white. They are staring at Ed like the shed was gone. He can also see them clearly. The walls appear invisible. Ed doesn't know what to do. No matter, though, because he suddenly realizes even if he wanted to move or scream or run, he couldn't. They wouldn't let him. Ed is back in bed. Was it a dream? Whatever it was, he can tell inside that shed there was a time machine. A young boy went there every night to build it, so he could get back the girl that ditched him. He was too, a lone one. Ed goes to school like it's any other day. Does not pay attention in classes. He looks out the window and sees the boy that built the time machine. He is a mysterious one, skipping stones at some lake. Back home, Ed is sitting on the grass, next to the cliff, still with those 3 beings on his mind. He wonders who they were And where? Where did they come from? And why? What could they possibly want with him? Ed takes a shower, same as every afternoon, after he is done with his homework. And before they have dinner, he is finished cleaning up, and water is running down his body. He goes to open the curtain to get out, but he opens some kind of vortex. He can see a galaxy light years away. In the middle, a throne with a Nordic woman with her child in her arms. As soon as he looks into the woman's eyes, he's back in his bathroom, all silent at the table, barely looks at his plate during dinner, let alone touching his food. His parents eat and leave, as usual. His thoughts still on that woman, and the throne, and those three beings he saw the other night. Once on his bed, pulls the sheets up to cover his body, and something gets his attention. There is a huge man on the corner, both hands hugging his knees, showing some concern on his face, wearing a robe and sandals, must be at least 13 feet tall. Turns around and looks into Ed's eyes. Ed wonders what troubles the giant. The boy that built the time machine pops into both their heads, or into the man's, but Ed can see it clearly, as if he himself was seeing the boy, carrying a box with tools, walking to the shed every night. He must have really loved that girl. Ed is certain he wasn't dreaming when he saw the giant, and neither is he now. The boy has been going to the cemetery in the middle of the night for several weeks, desecrating more than a few graves. Now he's put together a body from parts of some of the corpses he's dug up, and next to the body, he's put a photo of the girl who left him, in the hopes that some part of her essence will enter the empty vessel. As some modern Frankenstein, he intends to give life to the body by means of electricity. Ed sees himself pulling the lever, but before he can find out if it worked, if the body is alive, he appears to jump through time. Now Ed is in 1978, June 6th, almost the 7th. As he looks at his watch, and it's 11:50 p.m., the date he sees in a page of a journal flying by, carried out by the wind. He is in a city destroyed by a nuclear war, which never happened. Not in this reality, anyway. Ed sees the boy jumping through time and space once again. What was once a bouquet of flowers rests next to a long forgotten grave. That is all we can expect in life. When we go, our loved ones will mourn us and cry for some time, recalling memories with us, but not too long. They learn to move on and leave us behind, to forget. Ed just knows the boy was never born, not in this reality. The boy just wanted peace and kept himself from being born. There is no grave, no tomb, no resting place for the boy. He is now at peace, wherever he may be. From out of nowhere, a girl appears. As white as snow, her skin is, dark as ebony, her long hair. There is no exit for her. She's on the edge of the precipice, a man getting closer. No options left. To live or to be free. That's the end of the road for the girl. She jumps to her own demise, feeling like she cab fly for a few seconds. And then, the sea. She turns into sea foam. She appears to be floating on the ocean, feeling but peace and quiet. Another man comes into the scene. He was on the beach and comes to the girl. He looks into her blue eyes. Suddenly, it is Ed looking into those eyes, and then it's the firmament and the cold space. It starts raining, and Ed can see the drops falling to floor, and the tombs, the cemetery again. The abandoned and long-forgotten grave's tombstone reads, Carola Duval. Was it all a dream? Is Ed wondering when he starts an astral travel? Feels himself leaving his body, only it's not him, but a boy he's seen before. Somewhere in dreams, perhaps, Ed sees the boy getting back in his body as three tall beings with elephant-like skin stand next to him. Those beings have rat-gray skin, huge black eyes, no iris or retina, just pupil, no nose, no mouth, oval heads. The boy covers his head with the sheets, hoping they will leave soon. Now Ed finds himself in his own room, his head covered, those beings next to him. Through the sheets, he can see blue lights and begins floating above his bed. And now he is the one hoping they leave. Ed wakes up a little dizzy and having no idea what that all was. When did they leave? Did they do something to him? He takes a shower, gets downstairs, and grabs a glass with orange juice and goes to school. Again, he pays no attention to his class or classmates. During lunch, sitting with his friends, they are all laughing and talking, and he's just gone. He remembers when the last pandemic happened. He dreamed of a guy meeting three shadowy figures. Never gave it much thought, but now he wonders if that was a dream at all. And is it somehow related to what he's been seeing in dreams? Are you here? Asks his mom, when once again he hasn't touched his food. He's playing with his fork and some peas. He found himself staring at a girl in some Greek ruins. Ed goes to bed early. He is staring at the ceiling, not thinking of anything. He doesn't even notice when he falls asleep. Or is he? Through the corner of his right eye, he sees three green-skinned beings, 4 feet tall, tops. They were there a second before. Now, they're gone. It is 3:15 a.m. And he falls asleep once more. He is just a child, 4, 5 years old, playing in the park, his mom holding his baby brother's hand. Now his mom goes to the ice cream truck while he watches his brother. It is now late and dark, all three of them walking home. His dad is there, waiting for them, and those 3 eye beings in front of them, his baby brother, they take with them. And his parents never talked about him again, like he never existed. He didn't exist, Not in this reality, anyway. The female being speaks, or rather, prints it on Ed's mind. They do not move their mouths. Your brother has a bigger fate, speaks the being on the left. How can you, asks Ed inside his head. We can see your thoughts, says the being on the right. And you can see ours, adds the one on the left. You had no sibling in this life. That's a memory of another reality, said the female, and now he's here again, looking down the cliff, watching the waves crashing on the beach. Same place he was when his baby brother went missing. Or at least, that's what Ed would remember. Mine Cole didn't know if he was asleep or awake until he heard someone cough. Then began the incessant striking of hammer on stone. Earl, the foreman, had set up shifts for everyone. He'd said, "Keep pounding. Let them know we're still here. Alive." There was no light. None. Not a glimmer. Everything felt dreamlike. Only Cole's dreams felt real. They played out in daylight. How long since the cave-in? Time had lost meaning. It felt like forever, or an hour ago. He'd startle awake and wonder where he was. Then remember, how long had he slept? A few minutes? Days? His watch was accurate. Give or take 12 hours. Memories blended with reality. Hunger marked time's passing, rolling against gritty stone. He sat up. Hearing others move reminded him there were others. And so far, they had survived. At least the dust had settled. After the collapse, choking dust hung in the air forever. They thought their lungs would never clear. For a long time, whenever someone switched on their lantern, everything looked smoky. Eventually, their coughing stopped. Had it been tights? Earl knew, but didn't want them focusing on that. He'd spent his life in the mines. If anyone asked, Earl would tell them he cut his teeth on a chunk of coal. After the cave-in, he told himself, this is the end. I get out alive. I'm gone. After the initial shock, they could only wait and hope a rescue party would find them before. When the tunnel collapsed, so much happened at once. The screams, the groans, the terror, the chaos. They would all have died had Earl not kept them focused. After a few rushed to escape and got caught in the collapse, his shouted orders stopped the panic. They heard their screams, but could do nothing. There wasn't time. Their equipment was inadequate, couldn't save themselves. The silence that followed gave them chills. The survivors pulled Jed from the rubble. He couldn't walk. They cleared a level spot for him. Using his medical training, Earl directed the others. He stopped Jed's bleeding. But setting broken bones with improvised splints was painful and difficult. They gave him precious water, Earl said. Hope he gets professional help before they set. He knew they would need to re-break them once he got to a hospital. Reality settled. Rescue could take days, might never get out. The prospect of starvation loomed. Earl counted heads. Besides himself, 4 others survived: Sonny, Jed, Cole, and Roman. All but Sonny had grown up together. Their fathers all came from the mines. The collapse came in the morning, so they had food and water. "Stow your kits and gear," he said. "Once you're secured, douse your lanterns. Save the batteries. The guys were hungry." Earl said, "Husband your resources, guys. Don't gobble it all at once. Make it last. Maybe down here a while." Earl organized shifts for them. They were to strike stone with a hammer in the Morse code SOS distress signal. Earl handed Cole a pick and pointed to the wall. "You start. Someone'll spell you in an hour. Signal 'em that we're alive and waiting." Cole found comfort at the wall. Activity filled the time. He felt useful. It amazed him how things become routine, even in the most primitive circumstances. While each took their turn at the wall, the others sat together in the dark, sharing stories. Sometimes they even laughed in the face of their plight. After a while, Roman began to weep. Hearing his sobs in the dark unsettled the others. A giant of a man. Everyone saw him as stoic, a man of action. He would take on any task. No one expected blubbering about his wife and kids. Now he despaired. In the darkness, his mask of strength invisible, he revealed himself. Their situation was undeniable. At the wall with the SOS, Cole tried to drown out Roman's sobs. Roman couldn't stifle his tears. His sobs became wails. Earl said, "I know it looks bad, man, but you'll be home in a day or two." With a constricted voice, Roman tried to explain. "She counts on me. What'll May do if I'm not there for her? She worries. Says, 'Be sure to come home.' What can I do without you? Says the kids cry when I'm late." There was nothing to say. Roman's sobs subsided into labored breathing. It was impossible, but the darkness seemed even blacker. Lacking sight, their sense of hearing sharpened. Each man recognized the personal signature of anyone's slight movement. The darkness did not obscure anyone's location. Hours passed. They drifted in and out of consciousness until their turn to hammer. The SOS came. "Anyone have any extra? I'm starving." It was Cole. No one responded. Earl said, "Told you not to wolf, man. Come on, guys. Someone must have something. You know I'd share with you." Cole turned on his lamp. He stood over Sonny. "I knew it." A stream of profanity flooded out. Others leaped to restrain him. Sonny said, "It's mine, man. I didn't take yours. You're hoarding, man. That food belongs to everyone." Earl stepped up, and Cole calmed. "What's up, Sonny? Whose kits are those?" Sonny said, "No one's hammering." "Whose shift is it?" "They're gonna think we're dead." "Answer the question." "I found 'em, Earl. Didn't steal 'em. Left behind by the others?" "Yeah, Sam and Gordy. The others who booked. They won't be back. I took them for safekeeping." Everyone looked at him in silence. Finally, he handed a kit to Cole. Earl said, "Roman, do an inventory on everyone's victuals. Make sure there's an even distribution." That seemed to satisfy everyone. Earl said, "Who's on SOS? Gotta keep the signal up. Don't want them giving up the search." Roman said, "I'm up. You keep doing inventory. Sonny, get to it." Things settled after that. Everyone took their turn on SOS. There was less conversation. Everyone kept to themselves. They never knew if their signals were heard. The overhead rumblings of excavation paused. When it resumed, it seemed more distant. Cole asked Earl, "They know where we are. What's taking so long? They quitting?" The cave-in exposed unstable strata. Aggressive digging could loosen it, bring it all down. Don't want to lose us to their haste. That's why they don't blast? Right. They could only keep signaling. And hope. Hours passed. Their existence settled into a narrow routine. Those not hammering the wall slept or bulled fitfully, kept awake by Jed's groans. Everyone knew he was still alive. No one knew when Jed would scream. Ghosts tormented him. Earl tried to calm him, but there was nothing to give him. Everyone put up with it. Had days passed? Cole awoke from unsettled sleep. He tipped his canteen up and found it empty. He said, "When we're back up top, if I ever suggest going camping, somebody please kill me." Others laughed. Sonny said, "We're already dead, just don't know it yet." Earl said, "Shut up. Don't start that." Sonny said, "It's true. We'll never get out. All that's left is arranging ourselves for the grave we're already resting in." Roman said, "They're searching. Need to be patient." Sonny said, "Give it up. You know I'm right." Earl said, "You're not helping. Whining does nothing. I'll whine if I want. You gonna kill me? I'm already dead," Cole said. "When they pull me out of here, I'll tell them to leave you behind, that you gave up, cried until you died." They heard a clatter of rocks. A punch glanced off Cole's face. If Sonny had seen his target, it would have hurt more. Screaming with rage, Cole threw himself at his attacker. They fell into the rubble. Earl yelled, "Stop!" They threw punches and grappled. Their thrashing sounded like animals. Earl switched on his lantern. He stood over the two. Sonny had bloodied Cole's face. Earl kicked Sonny's head, sending him to the cave floor. Sonny yelled, "I'll kill you!" "Listen!" Roman stopped hammering. Earl doused his light. The sound of pneumatic drills was close. Brakes led to increased activity. Everyone stepped back from the rubble, blocking the tunnel opening. Dust stirred, making them cough. Stones shifted and rolled to their feet. Cole and Roman dodged a boulder coming to rest between them. They laughed nervously. After several minutes of tense silence, light pierced the darkness. The five cheered as one. Even Jed joined in. Shouting and jumping, they couldn't stop. A large stone broke free and rolled from the tunnel entrance. bathing the cavern in light. They'd been saved. A pastor's burden. In a small hospital room, a visibly shaken woman sat slumped in a chair next to her daughter's bed, watching her chest rise and fall as oxygen moved from the tubes into her lungs. Dark circles framed her eyes, which were heavy with exhaustion and worry. When she heard the news announcement, she looked at the small TV screen and raised the volume quickly. Tonight, a local pastor is in custody after turning himself in for a hit and run of 13-year-old girl Emma Campbell that occurred only a week ago. Emma was reported missing by her family before she was found at Mercy Hospital as a Jane Doe almost a day later. Emma is currently in critical condition with injuries that include blood force trauma and spinal fractures. This all unfolded this morning when 54-year-old David O'Reilly of the Church of God in Christ reportedly turned himself in and admitted to hitting her and fleeing the scene. According to the church, O'Reilly has served as a priest in the Church of God in Christ of White County since 2002 and has even presided over this past Sunday's Mass. Interestingly, the church caught on fire Monday morning after it ignited in a building nearby. Luckily, no one was injured. However, a few people were transported to a local hospital for smoke inhalation. The police have told us that this remains an ongoing investigation. Meanwhile, the community and friends of the Campbell family are holding a vigil. Emma's mother told us, "I am just terrified. I want Emma back. I don't care about anything else." Reporting live from Mercy Hospital, this is Angelica Sanchez, CBS News, as the woman watched. She sobbed quietly while clasping her daughter's hand, her other arm wrapped protectively around herself, as if trying to shield them both from some hidden danger. She was still shocked at the whirlwind of events that rocked her family for the past few days. God was punishing her, she thought. Not very far away, 2 police detectives walked into a room where David O'Reilly sat, his head hunched over in a metal chair and his hands clasped tightly. One of the detectives cleared his throat as they sat opposite him, while the other shuffled papers as if he had not just gone over every paper before coming in. "Mr. O'Reilly, I am Detective Jameson, and this is Detective Phillips. Do you need anything before we start? Coffee or some water?" David shook his head, which prompted Detective Phillips to begin. "All right, Mr. O'Reilly, walk me through what happened last Thursday." David sighed and shook his head before speaking slowly. "Like I told Officer Jones, I was heading home on Eli Road. I had a lot on my mind and didn't see the poor girl. I slammed on my brake immediately. I ran out of the car, and she was lying there, and blood was everywhere. I panicked. I did not know what to do. I do not carry a cell phone. I cried for help, but no one was around. I thought I could take her to a hospital, but I know you are not supposed to move people. And also, I recently had back surgery, so I was not sure if I could. I went back into my toe, and I had all the intention of going to the nearest station, but I don't know what happened. The devil is a powerful enemy. I got scared. The devil. I see. Where were you coming from? I drive to a local donation center now and then to buy books for the children in my parish. Right. We called after your initial statement, and while everyone knew who you were, no one could confirm you were there last Thursday. Yes, I realized that I forgot my wallet at home and just turned around and did not make it there. I see. And what happened when you returned home? I parked the car. My wife was helping my oldest son, Adam, with homework, and the other two were playing in their room. Deacon Cowley came over, and we discussed Sunday's sermon. When he left, I put Faith and Jacob to bed and showered. After Adam went to bed, I told my wife what happened. Help me understand this. You are a man of God. You teach His word. You know right from wrong and good from evil. Yet you hit an innocent young girl and you walk away? How so? I don't know, Detective. As I said, the devil is powerful. He feeds on our weaknesses. I thought I was going to lose my family. I got scared and... Spare me the spiritual nonsense. Did you know Ms. Campbell before? Detective Phillips interjected. Clearly, he played the bad cop. What? No. I mean, I don't know. As far as I know, we don't have a Campbell in our parish. But people come and go all the time. Wait, why are you even asking? Several reasons, Pastor. Several reasons. They both stood up and prepared to leave the room. David looked at them and asked if he could know these reasons, but they shook their heads and opened the door to leave. David yelled as they walked out that it was an accident. As they walked through the precinct hallway, Detective Jameson asked, "What do you think?" Too early, but something does not feel right. My gut tells me he is lying about something. Do we have any witnesses yet? Also, where is the wife? We need to talk to her. And how is the girl doing? No witnesses, and I believe she is in the hospital with her daughter. Faith is still in critical condition, and doctors are not optimistic. Elizabeth woke up to the beeping sound on Faith's monitors. A few seconds later, the nurse came in to check. After a few taps, the beeping sound stopped. The nurse mentioned that the IV will need to be changed soon. Elizabeth asked if there was any word from the pulmonologist they had been waiting for. The nurse shook her head and said she would send a message. Elizabeth asked why the doctor took so long to come to the hospital. The nurse said she did not know, but that he was currently unavailable. Before Elizabeth could protest, 2 detectives appeared at the door, and the nurse excused herself. "Mrs. O'Reilly, we are sorry to disturb you, and to come at such a difficult time. However, we have a few questions." Elizabeth's eyes flickered with apprehension before her guarded wariness took over. She stood up and walked with them outside of the room. "Mrs. O'Reilly, do you know what time your husband returned home last Thursday?" "I'm not sure. David usually meets with Deacon Cowley around 8 p.m. on Thursdays, so I am guessing before that time. Do you know where he was that day?" "I believe he went to the local donation center." "And when did he leave to go there?" "I can't say, as I was not home. I picked up the kids from school and dropped them off at my sister's." "And what time would you say that was?" "Probably around 4 p.m. when I was at my sister's house." "And where did you go?" "I sometimes help local businesses with their books, so I was at the local motel on Siesta Drive." "Eddie's place?" "Huh?" "Oh yes, Edward." "Mrs. O'Reilly, we talked to many folks, and they all mentioned how kind and thoughtful your husband is. Don't you think it is strange for him to leave a poor girl to die after he hit her with his car?" "Well, yes, of course, Detective." "Mrs. O'Reilly, Angela, has your husband ever hurt you or the children?" "What? No. David would never hurt." She paused. She wanted to say anything, but stopped. Tears filled her eyes as she tried to finish the sentence, but couldn't. "All right, Mrs. O'Reilly, that will do for now. We will be in touch." The detectives turned and left her standing in the hallway, like a house remaining after a tornado ripped everything around. After talking to the wife, Detective Phillips was more convinced that something was fishy. He told his partner they needed to step it up. By the time they returned to the precinct, they had camera footage from some businesses and the report from the fire department to review. Unfortunately, the footage wasn't helpful. The fire that destroyed the garage, which had the car involved in the accident, started with an outdated breaker box with worn connectors, which caused the system to overload and cause a fire. It was just a coincidence. Detective Phillips thought it a very convenient coincidence. He needed to try something else. "Mr. O'Reilly, you are a good pastor. Some of our officers know you and attend your mass. Some even say you are too good." So I did a little digging, and guess what I found? Since 2003, we have had 6 murders that have remained unsolved. All of them were within a 10-mile radius of your church. All of the victims were teenagers between the ages of 13 and 18. So, is there anything you want to tell us? This is ridiculous. I came here and confessed alone without even being considered a suspect. I know I did something terrible, and God will be my judge. I am unsure what you are trying to prove here, but I have been cooperative, answered all your questions, and have nothing more to add. We appreciate your honesty, Mr. O'Reilly, but we are trying to do our job to ensure justice is served. Detective Jameson responded. I have done my best to help, and A knock on the door started David and interrupted him. Someone slightly opened the door, and both detectives left. Fear flashed across David's face before he put his face in his hands and prayed. The detectives walked quickly to their car to drive to Mercy Hospital. Emma gained her consciousness. The doctors refused to let them interview her, but after some negotiation, they settled on being able to talk to her for a minute. Emma confirmed the vehicle, but couldn't determine who was driving, as everything was still foggy. Her father and the doctor told the detectives that this was enough for now. Frustrated, they left without much progress. Back at St. John's Hospital, where Faith was still hooked up to an oxygen tank, her mother received word from the nurse that the pulmonologist was on his way and should be here any minute. The nurse then lowered her voice and whispered to her, "I am not supposed to tell you, and I probably would get in trouble for it, but the specialist is Dr. Campbell." She paused for a second and looked at the mother, but it didn't seem to click, so she continued, "You know he is the father of the poor girl who... You know." The room seemed to close around her as the weight of the revelation hit her. Guilt surged within her as her chest felt a sudden pressure that made it hard to breathe. The nurse helped her sit on a chair and brought a cup of iced water. Angela rubbed her temples and tried to push the images away. Her guilt was gnawing on her insides, whispering incessantly that God was punishing her. She couldn't escape it or hide from it. She tried to isolate herself in her daughter's room, spending hours sitting in the dark and pushing away friends and family. No one could understand the magnitude of her guilt. She buried her face in her hands and started crying before a knock on the door got her attention. It was Dr. Campbell. The next day, the detectives returned to Emma's room to ask her more questions. Her memory was still hazy, but she could better describe the car and confirm that it was a man driving it, not someone she knew. When given a picture of Pastor O'Reilly, she couldn't identify it as him. Detective Jameson thought that, at this point, the case was almost closed. They had a confession. The victim identified the car, the time, and that a man was driving. However, Detective Phillips still felt something was wrong, so he decided to try another strategy. They went to the interrogation room again, and Detective Phillips said the 5 words any culprit would want to hear: "You are free to go." David did not move. "What?" "You are free to go, sir. You will still be held liable for perjury, but for now, you may go. But don't leave town." "Detective, I confessed. I don't understand." "Yes, but fortunately, Miss Campbell regained her consciousness last night." David became quiet, and fear overcame his face. He didn't know what to think. He replayed the events of that fateful night in his head. Angela came home with a shocked look on her face. She broke down, sobbing, and told him what had happened. The car, the sudden flash of a figure on the road, the screeching brakes, the crash, and then silence. The children came down the stairs after they heard their mother crying. He looked at them and didn't hesitate for a second. He hugged his family and told them to go back upstairs. When Deacon Cowley came, he told him he wasn't feeling great and told him to work on the sermon himself. He sent him home, put the kids to bed, showered, and told his wife about his plan. She vehemently refused, but he convinced her it was best for the children. He couldn't do what she did. But now, it seems guilt has gotten to her. Look, it doesn't matter what the young lady said. I did it, okay? It was not Angela. Angela? Both detectives asked. Is it not what the girl said? Don't worry what she said. Are you saying it was your wife who was driving the car? I didn't say that. Now it makes sense. That's why I couldn't believe you. You lied to protect your wife. She hit the poor girl, panicked, went home, and you took the blame for her. No, I did it. I am telling you, I am the one who did it. Why you can't accept my confession? Because it is a lie, Pastor. I respect you for taking the blame, but listen to me. The girl isn't dead. With a confession, a good lawyer, and good behavior, your wife might spend a short time in prison. But I need your cooperation, okay? Detective Johnson will take your statement, okay? We will be right back as soon as they walked out. Detective Jameson, puzzled, pointed out that this didn't make sense. Emma confirmed that it was a man who drove the car. Detective Phillips smiled and mentioned that it didn't make sense and didn't say anything. They got into the car and started driving. Wait, this is not the way to the hospital. We are not going to hospital. I thought we were arresting Angela. We will. But first, we arrest the real culprit. And you are not going to tell me who it is. I'm guessing. Phillips smiled and shook his head. A few minutes later, they stopped before the Starry Night Motel. In less than a minute of questioning, Edward confessed it was him. Edward first met Angela at the church and was quickly drawn to her. He immediately jumped on the opportunity when he heard she worked with a few local businesses. After 3 kids, her marriage was stagnant, and with her husband being a pastor and always busy, she felt neglected. He tried many times, but she turned him down. Then, one day, she didn't. On the day of the accident, they had sex for the first time. She had a few glasses of wine, so he offered to drive closer to her house. He was so overjoyed to be with her that he didn't see the poor girl. At that moment, all his dreams turned into a nightmare. He tried to call the police, but she panicked and said no. She couldn't face her husband. when they saw a car's headlights coming. She told him to go back to his motel and that she would take care of it. He thought she would take the girl to the hospital, but when he heard nothing, he realized she wasn't. A month later, Detective Phillips stopped by Pastor O'Reilly's house. A moving truck was parked outside, and boxes were sitting out. David and his son gingerly walked out of the house, carrying a dresser. When they saw him, David told Adam to help his siblings. The detective picked up the dresser and helped bring it without saying a word. "How can I help you, Detective?" "I just came to apologize, Pastor. I know I was harsh with you, and you didn't deserve that." "Oh, that's all right. I lied to you, so you are fine." "But how did you know?" "Let's call it instinct. That's a gift from God." "Sure, Pastor. Speaking of which, oh, I knew you didn't just come to apologize. Ask your question. Seems I am not the only one with gifts." "Of course not. God is generous. It was you who caused that fire, wasn't it?" "I swore I wouldn't lie again. So yes, it was me." "Is that instinct too?" The detective laughed and shook his head as he walked away, saying, "This was a gift from God." The betrayal. The door to the kitchen flew open and hit the side of the refrigerator with a loud thud. Cold air rushed in. "You rotten bitch. I trusted you." Brock McCarthy stood in the doorway with his shoulders squared and fists clenched. "How could you do that to me?" His nostrils flared as he shook his head. Stunned, Clara Simmons gasped when she heard the commotion. After she regained her composure, she bristled at the hateful accusation. She placed the half-empty dinner plate she was holding in the sink. Staring into his brown eyes, she asked, "What the hell are you talking about?" After 2 years of living together, she knew Brock's temper. But this deranged outburst was worse than usual. "You know damn well what I'm talking about. My secret. I told you never to tell anyone about that shit. I didn't say anything to anybody." Her words were unhurried but emphatic. "You had to tell somebody something. When I went to the back door after work, all the guys started busting my balls, dropping hints, talking shit like they knew things. All of them acted like they knew something. And you're the only one I talked to about that shit." Brock unzipped his black leather jacket and draped it on the back of a kitchen chair. "Why did you do it? You're nuts. Or you're drunk. I didn't say anything." They glared at each other as a chilling silence gradually filled the room. "Hell, I'm not even close to being drunk. I had to leave the bar before I could finish my pitcher." It was impossible to tell what Brock was more agitated about, leaving cold beer or defending himself against the swirling speculations about his hidden, checkered past. "Did you bother to ask how your drinking buddies heard about your precious secret?" Her voice was soft, as if asking a child if they had finished their homework. "I didn't have to. Damn it. You are the only one who knows." With unhurried steps, Clara walked around the kitchen table, pulling on the back of the chair. The faint scraping of the wooden legs against the linoleum broke the quiet, like fingernails on a chalkboard. She took a seat and cast her gaze towards her angry boyfriend. That's not exactly true. She paused as their eyes momentarily locked. Is it? The tone of her now controlled voice was made bitter by a toxic mix of scorn and controlled rage. Those women know. After a long pause to emphasize her point, she said, "Trust me, they really know." Like air escaping from a balloon, Brock's body went limp. Without making a sound, he fell into the chair across from her, searching her face for a clue about her intentions. Look, you chose to tell me about your twisted secret. It was your choice. Clara's voice was cold. And I haven't told a soul since. But now I'm wondering what else you might be hiding. Wait, that's not fair. Fair? Fair? You have the balls to mention fair to me? That's laughable. You bust in here and accuse me of betraying you without a shred of evidence. I've always told you everything. Brock reached up and scratched the scruffy hair on his face. I didn't have to tell you about the women and you know what happened? But I did. And now you expect me to carry the same guilt? Clara adjusted her glasses. No, of course not. It's not guilt, exactly. Not really. It's more like, I don't know how to explain it. They sat listening to the faint sound of the small clock on the oven, ticking away the minutes, like the shattered pieces of their failing relationship. Absent-mindedly, Clara used her thumb to wipe the pepper dust off the shaker, sitting in the middle of the table. Do you think one of the women, moved here? He took a long time to answer, as if he hated the power of what truth might do to him. It's possible. He bit the inside of his cheek a few times while he thought. Clara leaned back in her chair. So, what will you do? I mean, if you see one of them? She stifled a yawn as her composure returned. There's another possibility. What if one of those women sent their boyfriend to find you? Like a trapper beating the bushes to get the snakes to show where they're hiding. Brock twisted his face into a scowl after he deciphered her meaning. Crap. He leaned back into his chair. He sat silent for a long moment. I've never even thought about that. It was always a slim possibility, I guess. Well, I think you had better start thinking about that possibility, because I never said a word to anyone, ever. Why would I? Brock pursed his lips and folded his arms in resignation. Holy shit. What are we going to do now? We? Are you seriously thinking this problem is a we thing? I didn't have anything to do with that shit. I wasn't there. I don't even know who they are. This is your ugly history, not mine. Always has been. I thought we were a couple. I thought we were, getting serious. Brock's voice conveyed desperation. Oh yeah, That was before you came in here and blamed me for something I didn't do. I don't think I want to stick around to see what else you might blame me for. No, babe, wait. You can't do that. Really, I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. Well, I guess you should have thought about that before you shoved open the kitchen door with a heart full of hate. I went from bitch to babe in 5 minutes, and I don't want to see how long it'll take next time. She placed her hands flat on the table. Calmly, she rose and ambled across the kitchen towards the bedroom. Stopping halfway, she turned and said, I don't want to become another secret in your long history of betrayals. Where I come from, love is all about trust. And you just lost mine. And now you're losing me. She turned and went into the bedroom and slammed the door. Second fair chance. Second fair chance. Lord Farnsworth, thank you so much for inviting me to dinner. I want to apologize for anything I did to create tension between us and let you know how grateful I am to have this second chance to make a better impression. Well, Sir Fenwick, be assured if I didn't cherish my daughter, Charity, so much, you would never get another opportunity to make appeasement. She begged me to reconsider my dismissal of your attentions toward her. She is very taken with you, so you must not be all that horrible. Maybe a little misguided when it comes to how you treat a lady of high standing, such as my beautiful daughter. I found you in a compromising position in the garden at that soiree. Still, she'll be joining us after our before-dinner sherry. I remember you made quite a showing at our fox hunt outing. You set a fine steed and contributed an experienced pair of foxhound to the pack. That proves you've had some culture to your upbringing. Yes, sir. I've been riding since I was a young boy. My friend and business partner, Sir Carlton Winslow, attorney at law, is the one with hound experience. His uncle used to train them. The pair were actually borrowed from a well-known sportsman, Lord Dudley Bragg. Ah, yes, Lord Bragg. The name suits him well. He was interested in courting Countess Diana, my sister-in-law, but she found him to be less than gentlemanly when he deserted her and Charity at the market fair. Matter of fact, that is how they made your acquaintance. Isn't that correct? You arranged for their escort home. Now she has been entertaining your friend, finds him quite attractive and courteous. Exactly, Lord Farnsworth. That's another reason it would be so advantageous for me to be able to court your daughter. We could assure each other to remain honorable. Wouldn't you agree? Or encourage each other's bad behavior. Hey, young man, I haven't forgotten what it was like to be your age, seeking female companionship. I must guard my daughter's reputation, you understand? Of course, your lordship. Wouldn't expect anything less. I assure you, my intentions are honorable. I am deeply in love with her already, and desire only the best for her. I would ask for her hand in marriage immediately if it found favor in your eyes. But I know our societal norms demand much more formal routines. I can only pray for your approval to make me the happiest lovesick fool in London. My joy would be eternal. I can tell how eager you are, and from her behavior, I suspect she feels the very same about you. I'll give it due consideration. So, I understand you are a solicitor making your way up in the professional standings. Do you suppose you will be able to support my daughter in the manner to which she is accustomed? I am afraid I have spoiled her, especially since her mother passed. Well, to be forthright, it will take some time to match the heights of your accomplishments. I can only hope she is agreeable to living more meagerly until I am more established. We would be rich in love, though. Unfortunately, love does not pay the bills or trade for niceties. And, ahem, it often leads to more mouths to feed. That would only increase our happiness, sir. I am more than ready to embrace whatever our future together could hold. I would be utterly devastated to walk away from a relationship with her at this point. She is my everything. I hope you understand. I'm beginning to see things your way. If I allow this to continue, we must be proper about it. Wouldn't want you scurrying off to Gretna Green to elope over the anvil, now would we? And, Lord forbid, you sneak off to Jersey. That's about as dangerous as it gets. My daughter deserves only the best. Here she comes. Now, come, dear. Thank you for joining us. You look so lovely this evening. That sea foam coloring of your flowing gown brings out the azure of your eyes. You'll have this young man drooling all through dinner. We are ready to go into the dining hall. This way, Sir Fenwick. Yes, you look very becoming as usual, Lady Charity. May I take your arm? And please, call me Riley, sir, of course. No need to be so formal, with only us present. I'll sit at the head of the table with each of you at my sides. Looks like the soup is already served. Let us begin with grace. Father, all this small talk has been charming, and I hope it has let you get to know Sir Riley better and understand what an upright gentleman he truly is. But could we get to the proverbial elephant in the room, since we are all alone and all adults? Sir Riley, dear? Yes, sir. I have an all-important question to ask of you concerning your vivacious daughter. I would very much like to make her my wife, if she will have me. But I need your blessing. Well, you don't beat about the bush now, do you? I was enjoying our lively discussions and imagining what kind of a son-in-law an aspiring lawyer would make. You seem knowledgeable and versed in a wide range of topics. You would never be a boring dinner guest. I can see by the way you look at and respond to my little girl, you are sincere in your feelings toward her. She mirrors those feelings back to you, sort of feeling like a third wheel between you two. Ha, ha. If I didn't give you my blessing, you two would probably defy me and find a way to be together any way you could, sneaking around behind my back or right under my nose. Am I right? So yes, let's make it official. What do you say? I say I need to get down on my knee and do this properly. My fair lady, Charity, would you do me the honor of becoming my wife? Yes. Oh, yes. Thought you would never ask. Mother, dearest. Annie, I'm so sorry. I totally forgot about this weekend. I'm really unwell, so I probably couldn't have made it anyway. If you can wait, I'll help you next weekend. I promise. Love you, XXX. My heart sank. Sarah was unreliable, and she does this all the time. But I really thought she'd come through this time. I suppose I thought that every time, but this time I was hoping it would be different. I knew deep down that our friendship was slipping away. We both led totally different lives, but I felt it would be quite a shame to let a near 20-year friendship fade into nothing. It was clear where she stood on it, however, as she was putting less and less effort into her lies. Next weekend would turn into next month, and next month would turn into after Christmas. By the time we got round to it, when she had a weekend where she had nothing else to do, my Gran's old house would be commandeered by rats, bugs, and all manner of weeds. It was now going to be a long, lonely 3-hour drive across the country to New Biggin, and an even lonelier weekend clearing out the house. Part of the reason I'd wanted her to come was that I didn't want to stay there overnight on my own. It was the creepiest place I'd ever been. Every summer up until I turned 14, I was forced to spend 2 weeks there while my parents flew off to some tropical destination for a break. It wasn't until I disappeared the night before I was due to be dropped off that my parents took my complaints seriously. I left them a ransom note stating that I was not in trouble and that I was safe at a friend's house. I informed them that I would return home the next morning at 11, an hour before they were due to leave for the airport. When I returned the following morning, at exactly 11 a.m., my mother was already sat in the passenger seat of the car. As I walked up the drive, my father came out of the front door to meet me. He handed me the house key and an envelope, and looked at me with a sly grin. Your mother is upset, as you can see. She wants to leave early. He put his hand on my shoulder. I know you hate going to your Gran's. Quite frankly, I don't blame you. But you're on your own for 2 weeks now, kid. You've got the key. There's 200 quid in there, and that has to last you until we get back. If you starve, then that's on you. And no parties, or I will personally deliver you to your Gran's house and leave you there for a month. He hugged me and kissed me on the head, then got in the car. My mother didn't look at me as they backed off the drive. After a few hours of flicking between podcasts and the radio, I pulled onto the narrow country road that led to the house. It hadn't rained for a few days, but somehow the road was thick with wet mud, and the many potholes that lined it were filled with brown water. I drove carefully along for about 15 minutes until I rounded the last bend and saw the small tree that stretched over the low stone wall of the front garden. As I drove up the driveway, I had to fight every fiber of my being to not reverse out of there and leave the bloody house to rot. Why was I even here? Through some weird sense of loyalty to my mother, a woman that only saw her own mother through proxy, like some old billionaire that can't be bothered to attend board meetings. She had always refused to go to my grand's house, and also refused to explain to me why. She left as soon as she was able and moved to the nearest city. Soon after, she met my father, and the rest is history. As far as I could remember, the only time she has been back since was to see my grandfather on his deathbed. Even then, she refused to stay over. I got out of the car and towed my way around more potholes to the large red front door. I pulled out the large brass key I was sent by the lawyers and opened it. It was made from a thick slab of heavy wood. I had to use my shoulder and put all of my weight into it to push it open. Once inside, I struggled to see anything. Dusk was arriving outside, and the windows were so thick with grime that the little daylight that was left was barely getting through. I pulled out my key ring and turned on my small travel torch, when something to the right of me caught the corner of my eye. Something moved. I know it did. The painting above the radiator moved its head. I swear it did. But it couldn't have. Obviously. It's a painting. My hand were tingling, and my heart felt like it was climbing a hill in a spin class. I kept the torch shining on the painting and took a few deep breaths, holding for 4 seconds and then exhaling. The painting did not move, Annie. I made my way down the hallway to the main room. I retraced my childhood steps towards the large lamp in the corner of the room. I would sneak down here in the middle of the night and read all of my grandfather's old books. The only thing I actually wanted from this clear-out was his original copy of the Lord of the Rings trilogy. I would read it every summer. It was the only thing I looked forward to. I found the lamp. I fumbled around with the switch, as my hands were still sweaty. When I eventually got it on, my heart sank. The bookshelf was empty. There is very little dust on the shelves, which means it was recently cleared. As far as I was told, I had the only key, so either I was being lied to or someone had broken in. My only hope was that they were in the cupboard at the bottom. I looked in with my pocket torch and was met with spider webs. I made to stand up, but something stopped me in my tracks. I froze to the spot. My eyes widened to the point where I thought they might fall out. I held my breath. Silence surrounded me until I heard it again. It pierced through my chest. I wanted to scream, to heave open the huge door and leave without looking back. But something kept me there. I slowly turned around. I tried to silently creep through the room, over to the bottom of the large wooden staircase in the middle of the grand hallway. But with every step came a creak from the ancient floorboards. Each creak of the floorboards seemed to reverberate up my spine. My head was fizzing. I reached the entrance back into the hallway, and I could still hear the laugh. It was coming from upstairs. I was drenched with sweat. I could almost feel the drops leaving my pores. My cortisol levels must have been breaking all sorts of records. This is insane. Why am I going up the stairs? At the top of the stairs, the main bedroom and the bathroom were to the right. On the left was my mother's old bedroom, the bedroom that I inherited during those dreaded summers. I waited at the top and held my breath, listening for the laughter. If this was all a game by some silly country kids, they would be lucky to leave with all of their fingers. After a few seconds, I heard it. It was coming from my mother's old room. Enough sneaking about, I leapt up the final stair and burst into the room. Empty. I listened again, but the laughter had stopped. I shone the torch around the room. I had to take a second to think back, to make sure I was remembering things right, as the room looked totally different to the last time I was here. It had been turned into a shrine for my mother. There was pictures of her everywhere, some with her parents, some with my father. There was one of her holding me as a newborn, some with her and friends. All of her old toys were dotted around the room on shelves and drawers. Old medals and school certificates were stuck to the walls. I didn't understand. Why would my grandmother do this? My mother always told me she was cold and distant, never showed any real affection. I always believed her, as that was exactly how she was with me. This made no sense, but who else would do it if it wasn't her? I picked up a photo of my mother as a baby. I looked exactly like her at that age. I almost had time to form a smile before being shocked so much. I dropped the picture and smashed the glass. Bright lights were flashing in through the window, almost as if someone was speaking Morse code. I made my way over to the window and saw that the light was coming from the headlights of my car. Shit. I must have left them on. I hope the battery isn't going flat. I rummaged around in my pockets for my keys until I realized I had them in my hand. As I was using the pocket torch I made to turn around, when I felt an ice-cold hand grip the back of my neck. I swung my arm around violently, elbow first, hoping to connect hard with whoever had grabbed me. I didn't connect. So I swung my arms around, hoping to land any sort of blow, just enough for me to create some space and get out. I swung and kicked, but hit nothing. There was no one there. I shook my head and repeated the same breathing exercises as I had performed in front of the painting downstairs before walking over to the door. I need to leave now. And I do mean now. Don't leave me, Annie. My fingers froze around the door handle as if it was covered in super glue. Please don't leave me, Annie. Stay here and play with me. I shone the torch up to where I heard the voice. I tried to scream. I had to scream. If I didn't scream, my head was going to explode. My mother was sat up in her bed, clutching her childhood doll. Don't go out there. If you go out there, you'll die. I don't want you to die, Annie. I want you to stay here with me forever. The scream finally left me. It left me with more force than anything I have ever felt in my life. The whole room seemed to shake. I screamed until every last breath had left my lungs. Then I threw open the door so hard it almost came off. Its hinges. I sprinted down the stairs, jumping down the last 4. I reached the front door. I hadn't locked it when I'd came in, so I twisted the large brass handle and pulled. I couldn't use my weight to push it open this time, so I opened it as far as I could, then squeezed my fingers into the opening so I could have a better grip on the door to pull. I heard the laughter again. It was getting louder, which meant it was getting closer. Annie, don't be silly. You'll die out there. Stay with me. I pulled and pulled. I eventually put my foot in the gap and pushed the door back with my heel. Once there was enough space, I squeezed through, then sprinted over to my car, swinging the door open, then diving in. I turned the key once, twice. On the 3rd time it worked. I put it into gear, ripped the handbrake down, span around, and drove straight through the closed gate. The casualty has been identified as Annie Jones after her car skidded off a country road and collided head-on with a tree. The incident is made even more tragic, as she had been driving back home after visiting her late grandmother's house to deal with her estate due to the tragic deaths of her mother and father the previous year. Our thoughts go out to her close friends and family at the unfortunate time. Worse ways. Selena runs with a ferocity she didn't think she'd ever need again. Her feet thump, thump, thump on the ground, and her eyes search the dirty rooftop desperately for a familiar May. She knows she's taking too long. She can feel the time slipping through her fingers like grave dirt. She bursts out onto her 4th rooftop, a quick scan providing nothing. She turns around. Her ears catch onto the quietest sound, a scuff, a whimper. She runs over to the other corner of the building and checks behind a wall. There she is. May lays on the floor, cloudy eyes staring uselessly up at the sky, and her entire hand missing, blood leaking out of her at an alarming pace. Her gut is cut open and barely holding together, her leg bent the wrong way. Blood coats her entirely, her mouth, her neck, her chest. Selena's hand lands on his shoulder. May jumps, opening his mouth in surprise as she turns her head towards her. Selena? Her voice croaks out painfully, laced with a brittle sort of hope. Yeah, it's me, May. Hold on. Help is on the way. She'd called the ambulance as soon as she heard the news, hoping they'd be fast enough to get to her, find her, hoping she would be too. Selena carefully shifts May into her arms, getting her away from the dirty concrete, and trying desperately to stifle the blood spilling forth easily from her stomach. Selena, May says again, desperately. She says it like Selena is an angel about to bring her to salvation, as if Selena was what she needed, wanted, instead of some random punk from New York that kills people in his spare time, instead of someone who shot a bullet at her skull. I'm sorry. May grits out, blood leaking from her lips and coating his mouth. She feels useless, hopeless as blood continues to gush, and May is the one apologizing instead of her, the self-sacrificial dumbass she is. No, May, you don't get to say that. You stay with me, you hear? You stay right here with me. Her voice shakes, and she feels untethered, like everything is slipping away from her again. She runs her hands over May's unbroken arm, trying to ground the dying girl, trying to bring her back to the world of the living. Please, not again. May opens her mouth and breaks into loud, shattering coughs, blood dribbling down his chin even more. She shakes her, rougher than she probably should, trying to make her come back, make her stop drifting away, even when held beneath the calluses of her palms. May whines in pain. Come on, May. You can't go yet. You've got people to save. You've got friends who need you. Selena needs her, and yet May is leaving. She thinks of Jason and of her brother, Leo. They need her too. Need her like the air in their lungs, like the blood in their veins. Blood that May is covered in. May, please, hold on a bit longer. You can't leave me yet. Who else is going to knock the gun out of my hand? You promised. May we would live happily once this war is over. I haven't heard enough moral preaching yet. Come on. She's pleading, begging, praying to a God she no longer believes in. It's too sudden, too soon. She can't lose someone again. She can't. She'd listened to 1,000 hours of bull crap, If it meant May would just live. If it meant May would continue to lecture her and annoy her and be beside her, side breathing and smiling. May's shaking hand reaches up to his shirt and latches on, staining it with her blood. She can hear the sirens getting louder, closer. See, Silena. May's voice is scratchy, pained, weak. Shut up, May. Don't talk. Just stay awake for me. They're so close. Just a little longer. She just needs to hold on a little longer. Silena. No. May can't do this to her. She can't say goodbye. She hears the weight of her name, the finality to it. The hand on her shirt slackens. Her body starts to go limp, and she can feel it. Feel the way death grips her, like it did her brother, like it did her dad. I will miss you. Silena feels her chest shudder with a sob. The tears slip freely from her cheeks. The hand reaches up again, and it's so cold against her cheeks. So cold as it wipes away her tears. She grabs it, holds on to it, like it's the last anchor she has, pressing it to her cheek in the reminder that Silena is here, that May can't leave her here all alone. May should be yelling at her, screaming at her, like she always does. She doesn't respond, even as she shakes her, doesn't move, or breathe, or smile, or yell at her. I'm sorry, May. She whispers to the sirens and the air and the quiet body before her. I'm sorry, May. May is held in her arms, and yet she is alone. She is alone. She yells at the sky, at herself, at the world. She yells, and then she cries. Her lips press softly to the cold fingers of the girl she was only just learning to care for. She gently sweeps her bloody hands through dark hair for the first and last time. Slowly smooths her thumbs over those open, empty eyes and closes them against the harsh wind of the city. The paramedics storm the rooftop, and she's dragged away from the body. She doesn't stay to watch them load the body into the ambulance, doesn't stay to watch the ambulance drive off slowly. In no rush to save a dead person, she walks away to a panicked shouting. She lays down in his bed, soaked in another person's blood. She stares at the ceiling with an emptiness clawing at her heart until it drags her down into darkness. She wakes up 5 minutes before her alarm. She wakes without any sleepiness. Suddenly they're thrust into a world where she remembers the feeling of bloody hands against her cheek and the weight of a dead person in her lap. It takes her a second for the feelings to rush back, for the bone-deep exhaustion to settle familiarly in her chest, and the accompanying rage to guide her sights. She stands up as the alarm rings. A standard beep, beep, beep before she shuts it off. She looks at her hands. This gives her pause. She knows she didn't wash her hands last night, remembers the feeling of blood coating each and every finger and staining every surface she touched. Selena looks at the pristine white bed, then down at her spotless white top and clean jeans. Something is wrong. Her hand reaches for her phone, and she stares down at the date with a sinking sense of insanity. That can't be right. That's impossible. The numbers don't change. November 7th, it says, clearly, as if that makes any goddamn sense. Yesterday was November 7th. Yesterday she fell asleep, covered in blood. And yet, with a sudden ferocity, she finds her hands navigating the device, pulling up her contacts, and pressing firmly on a familiar name. The phone rings, and rings, and rings. Someone picks up. "Hello?" May says over the phone, her voice scratchy from sleep with an edge of worry. Her chest rattles with her next breath. His legs wobble, and she collapses onto her bed. "Hello?" May says louder, more alert, worried at the lack of response. "Hey," Silena says quietly. It's all she can say right now. What should one say to a dead woman? Not dead? How does one cope when the woman you held till her dying breath is breathing again? "Are you okay? Do you need help?" May asks. There's shuffling over the other side of the phone. A creak. More shuffling. As if May was suiting up. "I'm fine. It's nothing," she grits out. Her chest hurts. Her eyes ache. Her head is swimming with confusion. It doesn't sound like nothing. "Where are you?" "I'm coming over," May declares like the soldier she is, always ready to help, to fight. Misclick. She grits out before she hangs up the phone. She resists the temptation to throw it. She resists the urge to scream. She knows nightmares. She has them every night. But never has one been that real. Maybe she really is going crazy. Tremors shake her body, and she can't just forget holding someone while they die. Can't forget those sightless eyes, or those cold hands, or the putrid smell of blood so strong she was swimming in it. She can't forget the sticky warmth on her hands and her chest and her cheek, on her lips. It's like Todd all over again, except this time she can't trust herself, can't trust what she saw and felt and heard and smelled and tasted. She tasted death. May was dead when she fell asleep. May was alive when she woke up. May is alive. Memories of the same past experience hit her like a full-speed bullet train. She's still alive. They are stuck in a time loop, and this is going to repeat. So today's story has come to an end. Or perhaps it never really ended. There are mysteries still there, questions still unanswered, and sometimes things that seem to only exist in stories can creep into reality in unexpected ways. Are you sure that when you turn off the sound, everything around you will still be normal as before? Or is there something watching you? Either way, always remember that these are just stories, or at least we want to believe that they are. If you like moments of suspense, tension, and breathlessness, don't forget to follow me so you don't miss the next stories. And next time, when you come back, make sure you are ready, because what awaits you may be even scarier than you thought. See you again if you still have the courage to continue listening.